And in one line, what is the problem that you are looking to solve?
Dependency on synthetic insulin. He gave me a quote of, I think, 80,000 euros. And I was like, wow, well, if I'll know that, I'll be probably winning a Nobel Prize.
The more you read, the more you realize that how much you don't know. It's so vast, so deep.
And I was like, eating my fingernails, like really anxious. If I'll tell you, I have to kill you or get you in my company.
That's a great answer. Maybe I'll join the company. That's, I think, is a better option. Hi, I'm Dr. Umer Khan. Today we have Daniela Givon, who is the CEO and co-founder at DUNICA, and where they are looking to develop a novel botanical-based therapy to reverse the progression of type 1 diabetes and in the process reduce insulin dependency in type 1 diabetes. This all happened after she noticed a marked improvement in her daughter with this botanical who actually does suffer from type 1 diabetes. Hopefully, I believe you will be enjoying this episode. Daniela Givon, how are you today?
I'm great. Very happy to be here with you.
I'm great as well. Actually, I finished up a night shift at the hospital, but I didn't want to miss this for the world. How are you?
Brilliant. Very excited. Are you practicing as a physician in the hospital? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I work. I do a bit of part-time, a bit more than part-time, but yeah, this keeps me busy. This keeps me excited. And when I do my night shifts, I actually do my night shift. So when I do my night shifts, I'm actually in touch with a lot of my team abroad, in the US. So I get connected with my team and get in touch and do a lot of work. And of course, the night is always, you get to work a little bit more in the daytime when you do the night shifts.
I get that. As an entrepreneur, you do that a lot. You have a day job and you work nights as well. That's something we do.
No, as long as you're able to sleep somewhat, 6 hours. If you can get 6 hours in, I think you're okay.
7.
Most people prefer that you do 8 hours. Of course, that's probably ideal, 8 to 9 hours. But I get 6 hours in, and that works out for me.
I'm more of a 7 hours at least person.
7 hours is good. I actually asked a lot of people, and they say, yeah, 7 hours is what we try to do. We normally get around 6 hours, but ideally, exactly, you need to have 7, 8 hours in. But tell me, Daniela, what are you working on? What is that specific problem that you're looking to solve?
Well, we're working, not me alone, of course, on solving the type 1 diabetes. We're aiming for an early stage intervention when people are not dependent on external insulin. And we're trying to halt, and we succeeded in animals already. We're trying to halt the destruction of insulin producing beta cells, which is the main problem, of course, in type 1 diabetes. And yeah, that's in general what we're doing. That's our main goal. We're talking about children and adults that suffer from it. The numbers has risen since the 80s, and people from infants from the age of newborns as well, and until the age of 50, people are diagnosed today with type 1 diabetes. That's pretty crazy. It used to be 12 to 25 most of diagnosis, but now it's expanding tremendously.
No, definitely. Actually, I had a patient tonight with type 1 diabetes. Apparently, he was on insulin and he was not compliant and he didn't take his insulin for about a month. And you can
Oh, wow.
imagine the situation that he came on with. We call it diabetic ketoacidosis, where your
Yeah.
body is going into acidemia and it could be horrible. And there used to be a very, very high mortality rate back in the day, but now for the last few decades or so, it has been well under control. Now, type 1 diabetes, having a cure, early stage, picking it up early and treating it early before the beta cells get destroyed with autoimmunity. And just for people who don't know about the beta cells, those are the cells in the area called the islets of Langerhans, and they actually produce insulin and they help manage your sugar levels in your blood. And when they get burned out, which happens in type 1 diabetes and in type 2 diabetes, they also get burned out gradually over the course of many years if your sugar levels are not controlled. So that's the pinnacle of what diabetics or diabetes researchers are looking to solve. So how did you come about in looking at this, and you're pretty sure that what you have is pretty accurate?
Well, we're hoping that it's accurate. I'll tell you how I got to this. My oldest daughter, Nave, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes 12 years ago. And of course, it was terrible for as on a professional level, on a personal level, on every level. Since I've been doing product development from naturally sourced ingredients for many years already, and it was it was just a terrible event. Your life has in one instant, and she was diagnosed with a DKA with in this extreme condition, and instantly your life changes. It's something that I can't even explain, from being, free, doing whatever you want, eating whatever you want. In every instant, this disease meets you when you take a shower, when you eat, when you do sports. So it at first we were just trying to get the hang of it. Insulin is a very tricky. We call it drug, but it's more of a supplementation because it doesn't cure the disease. It's more like, let's say, it's like iron or vitamin D. You're lacking of it, so you have to take it artificially. Um, so we were already 4 years into her diagnosis. She was fully dependent on insulin, and this ingredient, botanical ingredient, I came across it. Since this is what I do, people come with all kind of crazy ideas to me and tell me, "Oh, you have to look at this. Oh, you have to look at that. You have to try this and try that." And this was given to me for me. I was coughing crazy, which um, wasn't typical to me. And I was traveling around, and someone told me, "Oh, you know what? There's this one herb that you really need to try. It will stop your coughing." And I said, "Okay, I'll try. What can it, if people use it, I can use it as well." And it was very helpful. And when I got back home, I started reading about it and trying to learn more about what it does, and I saw and I read it's the on a professional level, it's called a ethnobotanical survey. I started looking, what did people use this herb for, because it's not a commercialized herb. I never heard about it before. And I saw that it was given to type 2 diabetes, or as they call it, older people diabetes or metabolic diabetes, which is really more related to what you eat and how you handle your carb intake. And that it was given as well for severe allergic responses. And then that got me wondering, okay, so we have immunity and we have metabolic effect. Maybe this could be interesting. So it took me one more year, and I went back to the place I was traveling at, and so I picked some herbs out in the fields, which is something that I do. That's what people who deal with herbs do. They pick herbs out in the wild, and I did a home extraction, and I started giving it to my daughter. It took me a while because I didn't have any hope, since I tried herbs with her many times before. And so it took me a while, and it was just, another thing I've done. I wasn't even thinking about revealing something. Let's just, okay, let's try it. What harm can it do? How little did I know? Well, this is called more luck than brains, I think. And for 3 weeks, she was taking it. We saw severe hypoglycemia, which means that her blood sugar level dropped, and I had to reduce her insulin intake. The insulin intake went down to 20% in 3 weeks, and it was stable. When you first try something new with someone sick, you have the first 2 days are kind of a placebo effect. Placebo is the most amazing, amazing, amazing medication in the world. And after a couple of days, it still worked. So I was thinking, maybe we stopped eating carbs. This is like, your mind, you're doing stuff that you're not aware of. But 3 weeks and having her glucose level drop like that, I never saw that. So after 3 weeks, I stopped. And I was saying, okay, something is happening here. And I sent her doctor her CGM, her glucose monitoring results, and her pump output. and told her, "Look what's going on." And she was like, "Did you start keto, like a keto diet or something?" And I was like, "No, I gave a new herb." And she was like, "No, herbs don't do that." And I was telling her, "Well, I know, but how should I react to this? This is so crazy." And it was really, I really did not know. I had no clue, like, what can someone do with, this information, because it was outstanding. Like, I really, if you Google, like, hypoglycemic herbs or herbs for diabetes, you get hundreds of herbs, really. Like, almost every herb that circulates your blood, it will help you with lowering your blood sugar, because that's in type 2 diabetes, that's the main, well, not the main, but that's one of the main issues, that and insulin resistance. And a lot of herbs assist in that. And I tried them. I tried like Carella, Gymnema, licorice, curcum, all turmeric, all the ones that are very well known. And I tried formulations. I tried a single herb.
Did you try cinnamon?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And cinnamon, that's what it does. It helps circulate and motivate your blood in to your peripheral areas. But this was something new. That was something very excited. And I was asking her, so what should we do? And she said, I don't know, let's check. And I was like, how do you check things like that? And then I picked up the phone and called my, like, a colleague of mine for many years. For today's one of my partners, Nadav. And I told him, so listen, what's going on? I you remember that herb I told you I was trying? So this is it. This is something is happening. I don't know what to do with it. And he said, okay, he's doing a lot of that. The reason I called him, that he's doing a lot of research on autoimmune disease, and he was focused on AML, and that's like a chronic leukemia, and psoriasis as well. And so I knew he had a clue of what you do in situations like this. And that was the moment we started doing this. And I was like asking questions. That's the main thing I was doing, is asking questions. I went to Weizmann Institute, to CROs, and asking, what can I do? How do you do this? And yeah, so that's a long answer to what got me going into this journey.
No, that's very interesting. So basically, you tried a herb and you notice a difference in your daughter's sugar levels, and you said something is happening. You didn't change anything else, and this was the only thing that you noticed that you changed, and this led you to potentially pursuing this herb forward in a more of a medicinal route. And so, just to backtrack a little, you mentioned about that you deal with herbs. Are you a herbalist? Did you happen to treat patients or people like this, or what do you used to do? So people just have a background on what you actually used to do.
Yeah, so my expertise is product development. From, like, I do natural remedies that are sourced from natural sources, specifically botanicals. And I had a private clinic, a private practice for a long while. I'm a certified herbalist, and I was in the industry as well of herbal supplements. So I was very, very, aware and informed about herbs and what they do. I saw many different formulations or single herbs or technologies around. So it's pretty well established and had a very firm thought about what herbs can and cannot do, specifically, and what they cannot do, I have to say.
Yeah, that's very important. What they cannot do. Can you
Yeah.
walk me through, or however much you can talk about this? What's the mechanism by which this herb is acting on? Do you have a general idea, or you can share a general idea what it actually does, or what do you think that it does, given the research that you have done so far?
So what we saw in animals and in cell lines as well, we saw immunomodulation. So immunomodulation, as opposed to immunosuppressors, okay, they don't suppress your immune system; they regulate it. How do they do it? Well, if I'll know that, I'll be probably winning a Nobel Prize. Specifically in type 1 diabetes. That's not something I'm expecting to happen, but I'm open for the option. So that's one thing. And it's important to know that while we speak, you, me, and everyone else around us, including type 1 diabetes patients, they produce new beta cells. it's like any other cell in your body. It regenerates. And what we understand, and we saw in histologies in our preclinical work, of course, you can't do histology to humans unless they're dead. But um, so we saw that we allow the natural regeneration of beta cells. What does that mean? That while, as we said, in type 1 diabetes, there's a destruction of the insulin producing beta cells. So in the time that they're dying, other cells are being born and trying to get to a maturity to produce insulin. And the main issue is that they cannot get to a maturity because they have too much stress on them. And that's a major issue in type 1. And it's one of the main issues that stem cell transplants are dealing with as well. You can transplant the stem cells, but they might be still dying because the body is attacking them as well. So what we understand that our therapy, and that's in a very high level, I wish I had more to tell because that would make me even happier. Um, so what we allow is a natural regeneration of beta cells and allowing them to get to the maturity that they need to be in order to produce and provide enough insulin for a normal living.
No, that is excellent. If there are a lot of immunomodulators, immunosuppressants that are looking to change different behaviors that immune cells or regenerative cells or stem cells how they act. You mentioned about you possibly being offered a Nobel Peace Prize, but I think if you are able to solve this problem of figuring out how to treat early type 1 diabetes. I think, what do you think? I think you will be offered, I will nominate you if I could for the Nobel Peace
Well,
Prize.
first we do good. That first we need to do good, and the prizes can wait. First of all, we need to make this happen. Yeah.
Exactly. So, this is at an early stage, human testing is undergoing. If this kicks in, how do you see the future of the world, at least for type 1 diabetics? What do you see happening?
First of all, they won't be dependent on external insulin, and that takes a huge burden off their back. And one more thing that we're aiming to do is to have this therapy orally administered, and not injected, and not with no need to be hospitalized and do any invasion or intrusive treatments. And that's a goal that we put there. And using like the herbs that we're growing, it can grow in extreme conditions. So the supply chain is adjustable to the extreme conditions that the world is facing. Because when I look at the future, I see supply chain challenges. I see extreme climate changes, and this is something I want to address when I do my work. I want to be aware of that, and I want to be, in a way, I want to be correlated with reality and understand that we can live like there's no tomorrow, like living for tomorrow like there's no tomorrow. But I understand that we need to find sustainable sources and sources that can be approachable. Stem cell, which I'm very for. Don't get me wrong. I'm really, I'm really for biological technology and all the innovation and opportunities they bring. But when we're looking widely, it's expensive in developed countries or non-developed countries or third world countries, if we can still say that word in 2023. I'm not sure how it's going to be. How can people afford this? So in diabetes and type 1, and I'm going to put type 2 aside a minute, but it's becoming an issue everywhere. And I'm thinking about that as well. I want to bring in affordable therapy to humanity, not something that can be only for the rich or only for the West. Let's say it
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. So a couple of things come to mind when you were just discussing about this. So you were a herbalist yourself, and you did have a bit of a patient contact practice. What actually made you, instead of doing it yourself, and now taking it widely and getting researchers involved and investors involved, what actually made you say, no, I gotta really take this out into a much bigger audience?
Oh, that's easy. Regulation and insurance. That's it. A very As I said, the herb that we're dealing with, I'm the first person to grow it in the world. It was a wild herb. It's not. If I'm thinking sometimes that, oh man, why it's not turmeric? Why it's not licorice? Why it's not something very common that I can, just have it commercialized, have it as a supplement, as something that is over the counter. So one reason, and the main reason, in, besides the fact that it's not regulated and I cannot sell it legally, it's effective, and it's very effective. And if someone will take it together with metformin, insulin, or something like that, I can do harm. And the basic is do no harm, first of all. And when you're trying, like, since I was doing like product development in, as I said, in the supplement and food industry, so I understand the regulation, and you cannot claim anything about a herb. You cannot say take this herb for this stage. This requires a medication. It's not something you want to monitor it, and you don't want to do harm. That's a main goal here. Because then the destruction of beta cells can take 6 years. We call it the window of opportunity. That's 6 or even sometimes 10 years, by the way. So this window of opportunity can be delayed. The first and the last medication that was approved just last year, it's called teplizumab, anti-CD3. It's an antibody, and what it does, it delays the insulin dependence in 2 years. That's a lot. It sounds like it sounds that it's a little, but it's a lot for a person who needs to, to change his life completely. So the fact that we'll be able to delay the onset or even cure, okay, where I cannot of course say today we need to perform more research, but the ability to delay this is something that it needs to be measured very, very closely, because you can, well, hopefully not, but you can reverse it on the other way and put it on on steroids. That's not something you want to do, because the immune system, I don't need to tell you, is very, it's tricky. It's something that you want to be, that you're not doing anything that will turn it over, turn it upside down, that it will be, the destruction will be faster. That's something that we're very conscious about.
No, exactly. And as you tested already on mice, it seems that the first guinea pig or was your daughter. Although it seems it is already being used as a cold remedy, um, probably by a lot of people. So at least the herb form seems to be relatively safe. But of course, you definitely need for human trials. The first step is to make sure it's safe whenever you start any human trials.
Yeah, so hopefully next year, well, if all goes like planned, we'll go in first in humans and understand the safety of it. And hopefully we're going to do it on healthy people that are good candidates to have type 1 diabetes. So you have that stage 2, the window of opportunity. These people are considered healthy because they have enough insulin producing beta cells, and they're not diagnosed with type 1 diabetes is in
Right.
full onset. So fingers crossed, and we're gonna be able to do that. And I'll come back to you and say, "Oh, Omar, you can't believe it. It's things are
No,
going."
no, definitely reach out to me, and I'll be like, hey, I had the first podcast with this lady.
This is indeed, it's my first podcast as well, so I'm very excited
No,
that we're
I'm
doing that.
glad that I'm definitely glad you're here. But listening to all of this, so you were a herbalist. You were sort of in the field of bringing herbs properly to the market and going through all the regulations. But this, I'm thinking that getting this out into the allopathic or the research, really the hardcore research standpoint, how were you actually able to reach and find people? Were there any hurdles when you were pursuing this? I'm pretty sure there are people who look to guide you or help you out, but it must have been tough to try to bring this all together. How did you go about doing this? And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of different people, and I look at your website, shows a lot of accomplished people are on board with you. How did this come about to be?
I like to learn. I think, to being honest, the people I met, and I was just knocking on doors, just to be clear, I was just knocking on doors. My first round of researchers was in Weizmann Institute. I just looked at who does diabetes, and I just, hi. I didn't even write an email. I just went knocking on doors, because since I wasn't a researcher, and I did not come from any academic institute when I was, of course, I studied, but like when I started this, I was just, I was just being myself. And that was so weird to people in a way, that was so bold. And I think boldness is boldness, but not being rude. Okay, I was very polite, very, very thankful, and very much wanting to learn. And I talked to really crazy researchers, like worldwide, really known researchers along the way. Not all of them you see in the website, because not all of them went on board because they were too old or too, um, I'm not going into drug development. I just do research and all kind of stuff like that. But I think the main thing that people opened up to me, because I was very genuine. I was saying, I have this thing, I have no clue what to do with it. And this is how I gained my third partner, actually. I went to the head of immunology unit in Weizmann Institute. He was just retiring. So he had some advocate time to listen to me. Not a lot of patience, though, but, and I was coming to him after I read tons of papers and said, okay, I want to do this animal model with a fluorescentic feature that I was coming with this. Like, now I know it was crazy, really unrealistic idea. And he was telling me, what are you talking about, woman? You need quick and dirty to understand if you have anything in your hand or not. And I was like, what is quick and dirty? I have no clue. As I said, I'm not a scientist. I don't know what do they even mean when they say that. And he was telling me, you go to Ranan. He knows how to do it. So Ranan, he has a CRO company. He was the guy who actually established the animal house in the immunology department in the Weizmann Institute. And about 15 years ago, he opened his own company, a CRO company that does preclinical work. And I came to him with this story, and he was telling me, what are you talking about, woman? What is this crazy model? I have the right model. Let me do this for you. See what your herb can do. And I was like, what do you mean, let me?
Can I interrupt for a second?
For
Did he
sure.
just take some beta cells on a petri dish and inoculate that with your herb and see what's happening? Is that what happened? I'm just guessing.
No, no, not at all. He said, like, in type 1 diabetes, since you don't know really the pathogenesis, you understand what's happening. You see antibodies, you see destruction of beta cells, but you don't know why. There are like tons of research about trauma or family loss or accidents or oxidative stress, or a new wave is about endocrine disruptors like let's say Roundup or bisoprolol A, or all kind of endocrine carcinogens or stuff like that. So we went on animals from the first go, because this is the most reliable model that you can find. So we did an animal study. That was my first study, and that's kind of crazy, because I learned later on that most of the people around me, they just do cell lines. So we went first on an animal study. It took about 4 months. It's a really long model, which was crazy to wait. And after 4 months, he told me, okay, never saw anything like this. This was like, we had a really, really, really good first go, and 100% success in treated group compared to untreated group. When I say success, I mean their sugar levels didn't go up, and their survival rate was, they all survived. They didn't get sick. They didn't die. So he said, okay, I'm in. Let's do this.
So basically, he had an animal model that sort of represents a human in a way, and
In a
he said,
way.
"Let me, yeah, let me." And he said, "Let me test it out. This herb in these animal models, the mice models that he has." and that is probably the most litmus test, at least to begin with. We did something similar back in the day when I was doing research at NYU, and we were testing out in mouse models of Alzheimer's disease and see what works with them and not work with them. So replicated we had replicated mouse models of human disease. Of course, they don't match 100%, definitely not, but that's how we used to do. I just want to touch back on what you mentioned earlier, that you just knock doors, and that is every entrepreneur needs to keep that in mind. Sometimes you do need to just knock doors and just go in blindly. And as they say that, for a man, that you never know what the girl is going to say unless you actually ask her out. So you have to do that, take that first step, right? And I remember back during COVID, peak COVID, when I had my telemedicine system, I knocked on doors, big medical centers in New York, and that's how I was able to set up my telemedicine monitoring system, COVID-19 monitoring system. So that works. If you want to get your product out, if you want to struggle, if you want to see and get your foot in the door, you have to try to go through that door. You have to knock doors. So I'm amazed, and I'm actually excited to know that you did something similar that I've done in the past.
Well, I think that's being an entrepreneur. That it's about being a doer. Okay, so I'm not a dreamer. I'm a doer. As I think I told you before the podcast when our first chat, I told you I never thought I'm gonna develop a drug. It wasn't my ambition to do this. But the minute something comes to me, I'm like I have a proactive approach. It's um it's just like that. If you wanna make things done, you make them happen. You go and do that. And I have like several examples from along the way that this is what I've done. Like what the person who does all our market analysis and business development for the pharmaceutical industry, he gave me a quote of I think 80,000 euros, and I was like, "Wow!" I had some money. Of course, I put a lot of money in this research, but at that certain point, we needed to go fundraising. That was the end of 2019 or something like that. And I needed that market analysis for fundraising. So I had like this, okay, how can I do this? And I just bought a ticket for 24 hours. And of course, I set the meeting. I didn't just fly out like that, but and I just sat for a lunch with him in Germany and told him, listen, I don't have the funds to pay you, but I'm willing to share my success with you. But you're the guy I need. And and he said yes. He just said
No,
yes.
yeah.
And
No, I think he definitely saw some enthusiasm, and he probably saw some potential results and something worth exploring. And in line with this, definitely you have a team. You seem you have funding, but definitely, of course, more funding is always great. How are you looking to potentially expand or increase any partnerships or collaborations? Are you looking, or what are you doing right now for expanding this, or hastening up your trials? Is there anything that you're looking for?
so we were granted with two research grants from Merck, the German group, in 2022. And we just finished this grant with beautiful results and more in cell lines, less in animals. And we're getting ready for first in humans next year, as I said. And I just started around. This is when I met you in New York last time. That was my first jumping into the water of fundraising, which is for me that's the most challenging part, since I'm a very much of a backstage person. I'm not a front stage usually, but now I'm changing because this is something, and this is something like in being an entrepreneur. It's not only doing what is your comfort zone. You need to wear that suit and go into that that adventure. And for me, it's an adventure. I'm gonna do PR and starting next month and being on television and stuff. First locally and then in Europe for investor relations. So, and for me, that's like more challenging than the science itself. The science I'm interested in. It's like it's exciting. It's like, will it work? Will it not work? And the fundraising for me is like a whole, like I was involved for other companies, but not for my own company because I had my we were bootstrapping for a long while, so it was. And now, putting this and telling people, okay, invest in me, invest in my idea, invest your cash. That's a whole new statement, but I'm taking that both hands, and 1st of January we're gonna be after it. Fingers
No,
crossed.
great. Yeah, just to continue with this a little bit, are you also looking for angel investors or just institutional investors at this point?
No, mainly angel investors. Mainly angel investors.
Mhm.
Institutional will be the next round. We're in contact with the JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, as well. And so, but we're looking for angels, private investors, and yeah, that's our main focus now.
Great. So, and you have partnered with Merck, or at least they have, given you a grant.
Yeah,
So,
that's not
the question,
partnering. That's research grants. It's a whole
research,
different thing.
no, exactly. So it's a grant. So that basically means that they don't have any control over you. Is that correct? Just to share with the audience. So, what do
No
they have any
control.
control of you?
None, none. Well, they have first rights for out licensing, or at least first rights in let's say for the best deal. But okay, I'm okay with that. But no control on anything. They even the way that this specific grant worked is that present your development plan, do whatever you do, let us know how it goes, no strings attached. And for me that was weird. How come you give me money and I'm not gonna give you like heavy reports and everything? So I was feeling, since I was pretty let's say I don't know if naive is the word, but I was with so much gratitude for the trust they gave me. So I was just like sending them data and letting them know how it goes in each step. And yeah, and this is part of being having your establish good relations, for the future. Because the feedback I got is you're doing great work, and the second thing is that the fact that you're giving us information and sharing with us and being so with gratitude or behaving with gratitude, that's something that they'll remember, and they gave me this amazing recommendation letter, and we got two grants. That's for quite a lot of money, and when looking at general numbers of grants around us. So yeah.
No, great, because this is something. Yeah, this will change people's lives. So that's the deal here. And going through, I mean, listening to you, it seems you've had a period of struggle, period of success. Now you're again sort of in a waiting period. But what general piece of advice would you give aspiring health entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, as you can be more personal with that? What type of advice would you give, given your struggles and journey so far? And hopefully down the line, this is going to be beneficial for a lot of people all over the world.
Be bold. Don't believe in yourself as much as just do the be calculated, bold and calculated. Understand what you do. Don't do things because someone just told you. Go and learn and do good reasoning process. The reasoning is like a major thing. And don't spend money just on salaries for hot shots. For us, we didn't have a massive burn rate because I didn't just I didn't establish a corporate before I had anything. I didn't just had great offices and a great, kitchen for everyone. And like I wasn't playing successful. I was striving for success. So, and I'm not playing in terms of course, like when people meet me, of course, I show the success. That's no, but I wasn't trying to do a show off, because show off costs a lot of money and that takes a lot of funds out of your development process. And that's the main thing, because eventually, if you're trying to do something good, you should do it very, very well and very calculated. And for women specifically, I tell this to interns and to colleagues that are younger from me in business, and I tell them, act like men. not in the destructive way, but in the boldness, in the understanding that you're legit, your ideas are legit, you are smart, you have something that nobody else has, and this is not something to be shy with, just like be out there,
Yeah,
talk to
especially if,
people.
yeah, especially if you have some, you definitely have substance, and substance gives you that drive, the motivation, or the resolve to play it forward, and and talk about what you have, at least what you think, based on a couple of pieces of evidence that you already have. That, hey, why not give it a try? Why not take the steps forward? Not just the first step, but keep on taking the right steps forward.
And I want to add one more thing about this. That Nadav, my partner, he told me at the beginning of this journey, and it was very, very, very helpful for me. He told me, remember that you're not a scientist. You're free from that, burden. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to sound like you know everything in terms of the science itself. Your job is to make this happen, not to discover the specific mechanism of action, the molecular target, whatever. But remember that. And that was for me very, very helpful, because knowing what you're good at and knowing your strength, that's a key factor for your success. Pretending doesn't work.
No, exactly, and definitely because it's so deep. And when I was back doing biomedical research, basic sciences, the more you read, the more you realize that how much you don't know. It's, it's so vast, so deep. And we were just talking about the immune system, and that's just a general word. And behind that, you can write volumes. And even if you focus on certain molecules, even behind us, certain molecules, there are volumes behind it. And it makes a whole village to build something. Like they say, it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Exactly.
And yeah, so, and think about all of this. You are a mother, you work already. How do you manage your work life? Do you have a work life balance? A lot of entrepreneurs have different thoughts about this, and they're pretty controversial. What about you? Have you thought about it? How do you maintain a work life balance? What is work for you? What is life for you?
I'll tell you a secret. Before my daughter got type 1 diabetes, before our life changed in that, in the priorities, and priorities is a really, really important word. I was a C-level manager at the age of 27. I was very ambitious. I was working a lot. Okay, really a lot. I really like to have good time. I like to travel and everything, but on the day to day, I was working hard. And after she got diagnosed, it took me a year or two to understand, that to let go of it in a way. And that's funny, because I have a venture, a startup. I'm fully still ambitious, but I don't have the entrepreneur fever. I don't get excited. I don't get downs. I don't get ups. I don't follow, any. Maybe that's a Hebrew term phrase I'm gonna say, but I don't follow every wave that is coming. Um, I keep my center. I keep myself focused. I talk to a lot of people before I make a decision. So this keeps me. I see even with companies that I do consultancy work with, or business development or product development, I see that people are most of the time they're talking about the work and not doing the actual work. And this I think this is a major thing in work life balance, like understanding what are the priorities, looking always at the next step, and not like this is like the feeling of, oh no, it's all so stressful, what's going on, what will happen. That's like, I think 50% of the energy spent in startups is on that. So the minute you take that white noise out of the system, it gives you a lot of space. And I'm a very efficient person. It's not like like I'm on speeds when I work, and I measure myself, and I understand if I have progress. So the more focused I am, the less the less I'm worried about homework balance, and that it's been about 10 years like this. So it's not like something new. So I can say not 10 years that I'm an entrepreneur in this venture, but homework balance is always an issue. So yeah, that's good for entrepreneurs and good for any other person. Just focus on what's important, and not trying to, not being hysterical about it. There are herbs for that.
No, definitely. I think it's not a straight line, but you have to draw a straight line on a board and see, okay, if I'm doing something, is it in line with my target? And okay, no, this is going really perpendicular. It's not going to work out, etc. So really have to be focused. And is it adding to all your overall success? So definitely have to think about that. But having said this, it seems you do have a good handle of a work-life balance. I'm pretty sure. What was one, or have you had to make sacrifices? I'm pretty sure you did. And when you're here in the U.S. or abroad in Israel, probably the family. What's the biggest sacrifice that you felt that you've made through this journey so far?
I still didn't buy a house. I invested in my company instead of, it's always a question. Do I do I invest, or do I spend it on our private life? So that, I think that's the main sacrifice, since I was bootstrapping and not taking money from outsourced at the beginning. So that was a decision, and it was a tough decision, actually, and it was a big sacrifice. But maybe it will turn around. um and I think it's the sacrifice is more in that term, about, I was, when you're bootstrapping at the beginning, you don't have fancy vacations, you don't buy every gadget or accessory you want. You're more calculated, because you say, okay, I'm not going to be in a spending mode now. I'm going to be. So I think that's the main thing. And no, but I had fun. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this, and my daughters were, and my partner were. Everyone was very supportive at this, because it was something that when you do it with grace, when I can't say that the sacrifice was something that I don't regret anything, and I'm not trying to color it, in a perfect note, but it's fully genuine. It's the sacrifice is mainly financial more than anything, because the journey is interesting. It's amazing.
No, that's very heart touching and heartfelt, and people can will relate to it, that they plan for a vacation or they want to buy a house or build a house, but they have something else, something much bigger in mind. And you definitely have something that just transcends the benefit that you or your immediate family will receive, not just financially, but also the betterment for your own child. And you said, okay, I'm gonna forego my house for now and see what I can do. So that is fairly inspiring, and I think a lot of people can take heart from that. That if they have something in mind, if something they feel is going to work, and they have some evidence that it's going to work, then yeah, letting go of that house, it's okay. It's okay for now.
Well,
Um,
hopefully,
yes, no, but
hopefully this wasn't the wrong decision. But I gained a lot. This journey gained, like, our family gained a lot from this as well. Not only me on a professional level, of course. This opened doors for me everywhere. Everywhere I go, it's like it's a whole different story for me as an entrepreneur in this field. But even for our family, it's an interesting journey. It's about teaching my daughters, being bold, being able to do, feeling that your thoughts are worthwhile. That's a lesson that being, an employee somewhere that is, just doing their job, I'm not sure they would gain that understanding, or let's say, a spiritual support in terms of, mentally, seeing someone able to do that. And I gained that from my mother and grandmothers as well. So it's like, it's something that I hope that they'll pass to their daughters as well.
no, exactly. Something that you pass on, and that's the legacy that you're talking about. The legacy that you want to leave, and whether it works or does not work, you at least are showing that definitely something's worth a try. And yes, and this is how everything happens and everything is made in the world. Somebody, it comes to somebody's mind and they pursue it, and it has to be done properly. It has to be done in a methodological manner, and it's just not a fluke that somebody is successful. Not everybody can win the lottery, and even the lottery, it doesn't get you that value and the benefit that you really want, that feel inside. um, Having said this, I have a question for you, and I
Yes.
know probably what the answer will be, but what is that this particular herb that you are testing out?
If I'll tell you, I have to kill you or get you in my company.
That's a great answer. Maybe I'll join the company. Maybe I'll join the company. That's, I think, is a better option. No,
No,
good.
at the moment we're not revealing that. We're not revealing that because it's part of our IP, and I have my secret field that I grow it, and it's like very, very, very few people. Not even all of, let's say, like not even all the people in the company know about it. What is it? And of course not, investors and stuff. Of course not.
No, great. No, excellent. No, definitely. We want to see this. We want to see this out there. We want to see evidence behind it and being used on patients, and it needs to make a difference in type 1 diabetes. And one question, have you tested this out on people with type 2 diabetes or animal models at least?
Well, so we did try it on beta cells themselves and in vitro cells and cell lines. And well, humanity had tried this for many, many years on type 2 or older people diabetes. This is, as I told you, the ethnobotanical survey I've made. And when I say ethnobotanical survey, I'm talking about walking into deserted areas, talking to really indigenous people, asking questions about how did they perceive this, how did they used to use this, because even trying to determine what is the right dosage, that was that is something that I needed an understanding of it. I needed to ask people, how did you used to use this? That's a question. um, so for me, humanity has already a lot of success with this herb for type 2 diabetes. And if I'm looking downline our pipeline, this is something that we're fully considering and for future uses. Um, and that's the magical part about herbs, because they have, since it's not only one molecule and it's usually not only on one target, you can use it for several let's say objectives.
No, excellent. No, we are definitely rooting for you here, and it could definitely a life changer for a lot of people. And probably type
Amen.
1 is the best target for you, because of course it acts more on the immunomodulation, and type 2 is a bit different, more lifestyle, and you're burning out your beta cells in different ways, with modern ways of living and eating and sedentary lifestyle. But yeah, type 1 is the people who really have their head on fire, and that's what you do with a startup. You pick out the people who most require your solution, and that's the the gold standard way of testing out your product and finding the niche market for yourself. So excellent. I'm gonna have a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready for that?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So, given that it's going to be successful in 2024, how much money are you expected to make in 2024?
To make in 2024, no, I'm expecting to make in 2025. If we'll be very, very, very smart and lucky, we're talking about an out licensing deal for $300 million. That's our evaluation for it.
Great. And in one line, what is the problem that you are looking to solve?
Dependency on synthetic insulin, or
Okay. So, what would you be doing if you were not trying to save diabetes or cure people with diabetes?
now
Yes. What
art.
would you be doing?
I'll be doing art, definitely.
Okay.
That's
What
my
type of
next
art?
plastic art and contemporary art. And I have this, yeah, and art and makeup, and new line of makeup for women, for older women.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing that as a maybe a side hustle 5 years from now after you're done from treating diabetes. So what is the no, I see that. I see that happening.
You
No, it's
asked, you got
good.
an answer.
Good, but I can think of I mean, I personally know so many females who are looking for beauty products, so it's a common thing for females to do. But I'm pretty sure you know how to actually get it done.
Time will tell. Time will
Time will
tell.
time will tell. So, what is the most helpful quote or phrase that you want to share with the viewers?
Not very well phrased, but I'll say it anyway. First, you do good, then the money will follow. First, you do
Exactly.
good. That's the main thing. Do good. Whatever you
Exactly.
do it well.
Exactly. I think my next question you probably answered it, but if you want to take a jab at it, if there is one piece of advice for a startup or an entrepreneur, what would that be?
Be methodical and prioritize.
Excellent, excellent. And which is one book you want people to read, and why is that?
That's a very hard question. I have so many good books I've read. Professionally, in the field of drug development and life science, I would go with the biography of cancer. Yeah, that's a very interesting story about the trials and how they developed. On a social note, I would go to Boyle, American author. And on a psychological note, I would go on Mein Kampf by Karl Uwe Knausgård, not by Adolf Hitler.
You gotta clarify that.
I know.
Okay, so where can people find you?
LinkedIn, Daniela Givon. Mainly on LinkedIn. That's my area now. Yeah, and I'm very open for a discussion. Have to say,
Okay, and since you are raising money, on what terms and how much are you looking to raise?
I'm looking for a $2 million investment in an equity base.
Okay, great, excellent. So, Daniela, it was a pleasure having you, and I wish and hope that what you are doing, I hope that this is a huge success, and you can bring it to the market as soon as possible because there is a huge need for this. And yes, if you find this, if you fix this, if you solve this issue, then I believe there is a huge prize, not just monetarily, but otherwise. Of course, we mentioned the Nobel Prize, but I do feel if somebody who solves diabetes type 1 will have something waiting for them.
That would be amazing. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me. That was fun. That was fun.
No, definitely. All right. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you want to reach out to Daniela, please you can follow her on her LinkedIn, as well as you can leave a comment below and we can continue this discussion. If you have any thoughts or you have your own experiences with diabetes type 1, yourself or your family or your kids, and how has it affected you and what you have done as a family or as a person, please do share that in the comments below as well. I'm Dr. Umer Khan. Thank you so much. We will look to see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.